Imagine waking up in a country that feels completely different from the one your parents knew. Just a few decades ago, Iran looked like a very different place. In the 1960s and 1970s, Tehran was filled with modern architecture, Western fashion, vibrant nightlife, universities, and ambitious plans for the future. Many people believed Iran was becoming one of the most modern and powerful countries in the Middle East. But in 1979, everything changed. A revolution erupted. A king was overthrown. A new system replaced the old one. In a matter of months, Iran transformed from a monarchy led by a powerful Shah into an Islamic Republic governed by religious authority. The country's politics, society, culture, and global relationships all shifted dramatically. So what really happened? How did a rapidly modernizing nation turn into something entirely different? And what can the story of Iran teach us about power, revolution, and the fragile direction of history? In this video, we will explore the story of Iran before the revolution and Iran today, and the dramatic transformation that reshaped an entire nation. Because sometimes the biggest changes in history happen faster than anyone expects. Long before modern borders and political systems, the land we now call Iran was already one of the great crossroads of human civilization. For thousands of years, this region, known historically as Persia, stood between East and West, connecting the cultures of Mesopotamia, Central Asia, India, and the Mediterranean world. Caravans crossed its deserts carrying silk, spices, gold, and ideas. Empires rose here that would shape the political imagination of the ancient world. The story of ancient Iran begins deep in antiquity, long before the rise of famous kings. Archaeological discoveries reveal that complex societies existed on the Iranian plateau as early as 5000 BCE. Early farming communities built settlements, developed irrigation systems, and began to form the first organized cultures in the region. One of the most remarkable early civilizations was Elam, located in what is today southwestern Iran. The Elamites created powerful city-states, developed their own language and writing system, and often competed with the great powers of Mesopotamia, such as Sumer and Babylon. For centuries, Elam stood as a major force in the ancient Near East. But the identity of Iran truly began to form with the arrival of the Iranian peoples around the second millennium BCE. These groups, believed to have migrated from the Eurasian steppe, gradually settled across the Iranian plateau. Among them were two tribes that would become historically significant, the Medes and the Persians. Over time, these tribes organized themselves into kingdoms, developing political systems and military structures that allowed them to dominate the region. In the 7th century BCE, the Medes created one of the first large Iranian kingdoms. Their capital, Ecbatana, became an important political center. The Medes were known for their cavalry and military organization, and they played a crucial role in the destruction of the powerful Assyrian Empire. But the Median dominance would not last forever. In the 6th century BCE, a new leader emerged who would change the course of history not only for Iran, but for the entire ancient world. His name was Cyrus the Great. Cyrus was the ruler of the Persian tribe, and through a series of brilliant campaigns, he united the Persian and Median peoples under one empire. This marked the birth of the Achaemenid Empire, the first great Persian empire. Under Cyrus and his successors, the empire expanded at an astonishing pace. Within a few decades, the Persians controlled territories stretching from the Indus Valley in the east to the Mediterranean Sea in the west. They conquered Lydia, Babylon, and vast regions of Central Asia. Unlike many conquerors of the ancient world, Cyrus gained a reputation for tolerance and pragmatic governance. He allowed conquered peoples to maintain their religions and traditions, which helped stabilize the massive empire. The Achaemenid Empire soon became the largest empire the world had ever seen. Its capital cities, such as Persepolis and Pasargadae, symbolized imperial power and artistic sophistication. Massive stone palaces were decorated with intricate carvings showing representatives from dozens of different nations, bringing tribute to the Persian king. These images were not only art, they were political statements illustrating an empire that ruled through order, structure, and diversity. Administration across such vast territories required innovation. The Persians developed an advanced system of governance. The empire was divided into provinces called satrapies, each governed by a satrap who represented the king. Royal roads connected distant regions, allowing messages and armies to travel quickly across thousands of kilometers. The famous royal road stretched from Sardis in Anatolia all the way to Susa in Persia, functioning as the communication backbone of the empire. Persian rulers also invested heavily in infrastructure. Roads, canals, and administrative centers were built to strengthen imperial control and facilitate trade. One of the most remarkable achievements was the canal project connecting the Nile to the Red Sea, demonstrating the engineering ambition of the Persian kings. Culturally, the empire was a fusion of many traditions. Persian religion, particularly the teachings associated with Zoroastrianism, emphasized the cosmic struggle between truth and falsehood, order and chaos. These philosophical ideas influenced not only Persian society, but later religious and ethical traditions across the region. Despite its strength, the empire eventually faced challenges from the rising powers of the Greek world. The famous Greco-Persian Wars in the 5th century BCE brought Persia into conflict with Greek city-states such as Athens and Sparta. Battles like Marathon, Thermopylae, and Salamis became legendary moments in ancient history. Although the Persians maintained control over much of their empire, these wars marked the beginning of long-term rivalry between East and West. Modern Iran is the result of one of the most dramatic political transformations of the 20th century. While ancient Persia built vast empires and influenced the foundations of civilization, the Iran we see today was shaped largely by the events of the modern era, especially the revolution that took place in 1979. To understand modern Iran, we must first understand the period that came just before it. In the early 20th century, Iran was ruled by the Pahlavi dynasty. Reza Shah Pahlavi came to power in 1925 and launched a series of ambitious reforms aimed at transforming Iran into a modern nation-state. Inspired by European models, he invested heavily in infrastructure, education, and state institutions. Railways were built across the country, new universities were established, and efforts were made to centralize political authority. These reforms continued under his son, Mohammad Reza Shah Pahlavi, who became the ruler of Iran during a turbulent period of global change. During the 1960s and 1970s, Iran experienced rapid modernization. The Shah introduced a program known as the White Revolution, which aimed to modernize agriculture, expand education, and promote industrial growth. Oil revenues allowed the government to invest heavily in development projects, and major cities like Tehran grew rapidly. Modern highways, universities, factories, and cultural institutions began to transform the country's landscape. Iran's economy expanded quickly, and for a time, the country appeared to be on a path toward becoming one of the most powerful states in the Middle East. In the major cities, Western cultural influence became increasingly visible. Fashion, cinema, music, and education were all influenced by global trends. Tehran, in particular, developed a reputation as one of the most modern cities in the region. Many young Iranians studied abroad, especially in Europe and the United States, bringing back new ideas and perspectives. On the surface, the country seemed to be moving toward a more modern and globally integrated future. However, beneath this rapid modernization, there were deep social and political tensions. Many people believed that the reforms were happening too quickly and were disrupting traditional values and social structures. Others criticized the Shah's government for its authoritarian style of rule. Political opposition was often suppressed, and critics argued that economic growth was unevenly distributed. These tensions gradually built over time, creating an atmosphere of unrest across different parts of Iranian society. By the late 1970s, protests and demonstrations were spreading across the country. Religious leaders, students, intellectuals, and various political groups all began expressing dissatisfaction with the government. Among the most influential figures in the opposition movement was Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini, a religious leader who had been living in exile but whose speeches and writings circulated widely inside Iran. Khomeini criticized the Shah's policies and called for the establishment of a government based on Islamic principles. In 1979, these tensions erupted into a full-scale revolution. Massive protests filled the streets of Iranian cities, and the political system that had ruled the country for decades collapsed. Mohammad Reza Shah eventually left Iran, and the monarchy that had governed the country for centuries came to an end. In its place, a new political system emerged, the Islamic Republic of Iran. The new system combined elements of republican governance with religious leadership. Ayatollah Khomeini became the supreme leader, a position that holds significant authority within the political structure. The new constitution created institutions such as the presidency and parliament, but ultimate oversight remained within a framework guided by religious principles. This new model represented a unique form of governance that blended political and religious authority. The early years of the Islamic Republic were marked by enormous challenges. In 1980, Iran became involved in a devastating war with neighboring Iraq. The Iran-Iraq War lasted 8 years and resulted in massive destruction and loss of life on both sides. The conflict had a profound impact on Iranian society, shaping the country's political culture and national identity for decades to come. Following the war, Iran gradually rebuilt its infrastructure and economy. However, relations with many Western countries remained tense, leading to periods of economic sanctions and diplomatic isolation. These pressures created significant economic challenges affecting trade, currency stability, and domestic development. Despite these difficulties, Iran remained one of the most influential countries in the Middle East. With a population of more than 80 million people and vast energy resources, the country plays a major role in regional politics and global energy markets. Iranian culture, science, literature, and when we compare Iran before the revolution and Iran today, we are not simply looking at two different political systems. We are looking at two different visions of society, identity, and the future of a nation. The transformation that took place after 1979 reshaped nearly every aspect of life in the country. Before the revolution, Iran was ruled by a monarchy under Mohammad Reza Shah Pahlavi. The government pursued rapid modernization and strong connections with Western countries. Large development projects, industrial investments, and modern infrastructure were transforming major cities. Tehran, in particular, became a symbol of modernization in the Middle East. Skyscrapers, universities, cinemas, and cultural centers reflected a society that was increasingly influenced by global trends. Western culture had a strong presence in urban life. Fashion, music, film, and education were influenced by Europe and the United States. Many Iranian students studied abroad, and international businesses operated in the country. Iran was also a close strategic ally of Western powers, which helped shape its political and economic direction during the Cold War era. However, modernization was not experienced equally across all levels of society. While urban elites benefited from economic growth and modernization, many rural communities and traditional groups felt disconnected from the changes taking place. Critics also argued that political power was concentrated in the hands of the Shah and that political opposition had little space to operate freely. These tensions gradually created an environment in which dissatisfaction spread among different social groups. After the revolution of 1979, the structure of the Iranian state changed dramatically. The monarchy was abolished and replaced with the Islamic Republic, a system that combined republican institutions with religious leadership. Political authority became closely linked with Islamic legal and ideological principles. This shift not only changed the political system, but also reshaped cultural and social norms across the country. One of the most visible differences between the two periods can be seen in public life and social regulations. After the revolution, new laws were introduced that reflected the religious character of the new government. Cultural policies, dress codes, and public institutions were influenced by Islamic values. These changes were part of a broader effort to redefine the identity of the state and its relationship with society. Iran's international position also changed significantly. Before 1979, the country maintained strong ties with Western governments, particularly the United States. After the revolution, relations with many Western nations became tense, leading to decades of political rivalry, diplomatic disputes, and economic sanctions. These sanctions have had a lasting impact on Iran's economy and its integration into the global financial system. At the same time, Iran developed new regional alliances and expanded its influence in various parts of the Middle East. The country positioned itself as an important political and ideological actor in regional conflicts and geopolitical developments. As a result, modern Iran plays a complex and often controversial role in global politics. Economically, the country has faced both opportunities and challenges. Iran possesses some of the world's largest reserves of oil and natural gas, which remain central to its economy. However, international sanctions, fluctuating oil prices, and internal economic pressures have created periods of instability. Inflation, currency fluctuations, and economic reforms continue to shape the everyday experiences of many Iranians. Despite these challenges, Iranian society itself remains highly dynamic. The country has a large educated population and an active intellectual and cultural life. Iranian filmmakers, artists, scientists, and writers continue to contribute significantly to global culture and scholarship. Universities and research institutions remain important centers of innovation and debate. When looking at Iran before and after the revolution, it becomes clear that the country's transformation was not simply a political change, but a deeper shift in national identity and direction. Two different models of modernization and governance emerged from this historical turning point. Yet history rarely moves in a straight line. The story of Iran continues to evolve as new generations debate the future of their society while carrying the weight of one of the oldest civilizations in the world. Understanding the contrast between the past and the present therefore helps us see how powerful historical moments can redefine the path of an entire nation. History often feels distant, like a collection of dates, empires, and forgotten names. But the story of Iran reminds us that history is not frozen in the past. It is something that continues to shape the present. From the vast empires of ancient Persia to the revolutions of the modern age, Iran has experienced dramatic transformations. Kingdoms rose, powerful dynasties ruled, revolutions reshaped the system, and new generations inherited the consequences of those turning points. The comparison between Iran before and after the revolution shows how quickly a nation's direction can change. Political systems, social rules, and international relationships can shift in a single moment of history. What once seemed permanent can disappear almost overnight. But beyond politics and power, Iran remains one of the world's oldest civilizations. Its poetry, philosophy, architecture, and culture have influenced humanity for thousands of years. Even today, the echoes of ancient Persia can still be felt in language, traditions, and identity. Perhaps the deeper lesson of this story is that nations, like civilizations, are always evolving. The past never fully disappears. It lives inside the present, shaping the choices that societies make about their future. And Iran's story, from ancient Persia to the modern republic, is a reminder that history is not just about what happened. It is about how the past continues to shape the world we live in today. If you enjoy exploring the hidden stories of history, forgotten civilizations, and the ideas that shaped our world, make sure to subscribe and join us for the next journey into the past.